Welcome to the Pageantry Podcast.
And today's very special Pageantry Podcast guest calling in from Washington State, Miss America's Outstanding Teen 2020, Payton May. Payton, good evening, since we are in the evening here.
Yes, hi.
Well, I'm so excited that you called in today. I've been watching you, socially, online, since you've actually captured the title of Miss America's Outstanding Teen. So we're going to talk a little about that and what you've been up to. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes, I am. Let's do it.
All right. How does it feel to be recognized as Miss America's Outstanding Teen 2020?
It is absolutely phenomenal. It's crazy to think that just a little over a year ago, I was sitting on my couch in my living room watching London getting crowned and just thinking that I wanted to be her. I wanted to be that girl on that stage. And so actually having the honor of wearing that title and that crown it's truly remarkable, and it doesn't feel real most of the time.
Has it started to sink in a little bit?
A little bit more, yeah. But it's still crazy. Anytime I have an appearance or I get to put it on, it's still, I still have to remind myself that this is who I actually am. I kind of look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is me. I'm Miss America's Outstanding Teen. It's crazy.
And speaking of putting the crown on, what do you remember most about when you realized you had captured the title?
Oh my goodness. I honestly don't remember a lot about that moment, but I felt so overwhelmed with emotion. A lot of the things that those girls who compete talk about is how amazing the whole week and the whole experience is. And so I think the most memorable thing about competing at Nationals was actually everything that led up to me getting crowned, getting to compete with those other 50 amazing girls and pretty much becoming best friends with them, and then getting to stand there with Caitlin, the final two, and just knowing that one of us was going to become the next national title holder. It was just such an amazing feeling, and I just remember feeling so overwhelmed with joy and happiness, and it was so remarkable.
Speaking of appearances, tell us about some of the appearances that you've been able to make thus far.
Yeah, so one of the first things I actually got to do was I got to come home to Clark County, which is where I live. And actually, the time I came home, we had our Clark County Fair, which is a really big deal in our community. So I got to go to that. I was there for about a week every single day, and I got to help out in the dairy booth, which was really amazing. I got to meet all these little kids and make them milkshakes. And then I also got to introduce myself at all of the monster truck shows, which was so cool. Everyone was so excited, and I think the craziest part was that a year ago at that fair, I was introducing myself as Miss Clark County's Outstanding Teen, and then I got to come back and introduce myself as Miss America's Outstanding Teen, which was so amazing, and the community was so supportive of me. And then some other appearances I've done, I had the opportunity to go to Carmel, Indiana, and attend the Great American Songbook Foundation Gala, and that was phenomenal. I got to meet Paul Williams and a lot of really other amazing performers and artists, and really got to appreciate the history of music and art in this country, and it was so amazing to be flown out there and to be able to experience that.
Have you had a chance to visit with Children's Miracle Network hospitals yet?
Yes, I have. I actually went to Seattle Children's last weekend, I believe, which is the largest children's hospital in Washington State, and actually I used to live pretty close to there, so it was really cool to go back, and I got to spend time in the playroom, and I met a lot of little girls and other kids, got to blow bubbles with them, we colored, we made some crowns. It was a really fun time, and it was really amazing to see the difference that I could make in their day, even if just for 10 or 20 minutes.
What did you learn about yourself when meeting these young people?
I think it's kind of a realization of how blessed I am, in the sense that, I'm healthy and I have a great life, and yet here are these little girls that definitely don't have the same blessings that I do, but they still have a smile on their face, and they still choose to fight through it every single day. And just seeing their positivity and the mark that they leave on the world just by being themselves and by choosing to spread kindness and joy, it's just such a reminder that we're all so blessed to be on this earth and to be kind to one another and to spread joy even on our worst and negative days.
Please explain your platform. Your Voice Matters, Educating the Voters of Tomorrow.
So ever since I was little, I've kind of always been involved with politics. My mom worked on the Washington State governor's campaign just a couple years ago, and so I've always been around politicians and kind of immersed in that world, and I've always found it incredibly fascinating. But one of the things I've noticed as I've gotten older is that teenagers, especially in high school, have no interest in the political process or about our democracy. And so when I was trying to come up with a platform, I wanted to do something that I was really passionate about, and that was getting teenagers involved in voting and making them feel like they had a voice in our democracy. And so one of the main things I do with my platform is register teenagers in high school to vote. I've already done multiple voter registration drives at my high school, which has been really remarkable. I think I've registered over 50% of our senior class so far, which is pretty amazing because a lot of kids either don't have the resources or they just don't even know how to register to vote. And so being able to take that a step further and make that an easier process for them is really amazing for me to see the impact that I can make on them. And then actually in a couple of weeks, I'm going to Arizona to train with a teacher who created an elementary school program that educates kids in elementary school about our democracy and helps them establish voting habits that they can utilize when they're older. So I'm also really excited to be doing that.
You know, as mentioned before, I'm a parent of 2 teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get them not only to register to vote, but how do you get them interested in the political process? There is so much negativity going on today. How do you even get them involved in even saying, gosh, this is interesting. I need to really study this more and educate myself?
Yeah. Well, one of the huge things, and the reason why this is kind of the name of my platform, is that I want teenagers and young adults to know that their voice does matter in our democracy. Our voting system is set up in such a way that one vote equals one voice, and you truly can influence elections, especially on the local and the state level. It's crazy to see the impact that young people are making in our country nowadays, and just how much of a difference a group of students coming together and speaking their voice can have an impact on the laws and the policies that are being made. And so I ask students, what are you passionate about? What are things that you want to see change in our country? And then I tell them that they have the opportunity to change those things by registering to vote and voting for candidates that reflect those same values and ideals that they stand for. So I really take it on a personal level and try to help them understand that if they utilize their voice and they elect the candidates that they believe will truly enact the change that they want to see in our country, that their voice will be heard and it will matter.
Excellent. Kudos.
Thank you.
What do you feel is the most pressing challenge facing teens today?
One of the most pressing issues I see a lot with teenagers and young adults, especially with my friends and sometimes even with me, is having a negative self-image of our body or of the way we look. I especially have experience with disordered eating and knowing what it's like to not feel confident in your body and who you are and feeling like you need to change yourself in order to fit in. And so that's one of the things that's always been really disappointing and sad for me to see girls who are so beautiful and who are just trying to be themselves and show the world who they are, but they can't because they feel like they have to compare themselves to models or these other girls that are prettier than them. And so one of the things I really focus on, especially if I'm talking to girls that are my age and who I know may be struggling with the same things that I am, is that we're all beautiful in our own right and we all matter regardless of what we look like, and that we shouldn't have to change our eating habits or our diet or the workouts that we do in order to look or feel a certain way.
As a senior in high school, have you decided on college or where you would like to attend?
Yes, I have. For a couple years, actually, my dream school has been University of Southern California. I won't find out if I have gotten in until January of 2020, but crossing my fingers that I get accepted. It's been my dream school for a very long time, and it'd be so incredibly exciting to be able to go there.
But before college, you're still in high school. How do your peers
Yes.
view you now as Miss America's Outstanding Teen?
In a way, I feel like not a lot has changed, except for that my nickname now is Miss America, which was funny at first, and now it's a little annoying. But it's all in good fun. Some of my teachers call me it, and of course, some of my friends. But everyone's been really amazing and supportive so far. So many of my teachers are understanding when I have to miss school to go do community service projects, or when I may not get my homework entirely done because I was up late doing something for my Miss America's Outstanding Teen responsibilities. But for the most part, the outpouring of love that I've received from my school administration and my friends and fellow peers has just been amazing, and I'm so glad to have that support system behind me.
And keeping with Miss America's Outstanding Teen, during the competition, you performed vocally. How long have you been trained?
I started training when I was 6 years old, so I'm trained in classical and operatic voice, but I actually sang a more musical theater song for my talent, Miss America's Outstanding Teen, which is kind of my guilty pleasure. I love Broadway music so very much, and especially Judy Garland. She's just remarkable. So, yeah, I've been training since I was 6. I'm 18 now, so that's about 12 years, and I've always loved it. It's just something that brings me so much joy and happiness, and I never, ever want to stop singing.
Have you had any time to visit with your sister queen, Miss America, Nia Franklin?
I actually haven't been able to see her in person except for the night that I won my national title, but I have my homecoming coming up on October 26th, and Nia's actually coming to that, so she'll get to experience what Washington is like, specifically Clark County, and I'm so excited to show her around my hometown and really get to bond with her that weekend.
So you can speak about singing, yes?
Yes, of course.
And speaking of singing, and I ask this a lot of questions, especially of those of you who are within Miss America's Outstanding Teen, why do you feel the arts are important in today's society?
As someone who's so involved with the arts at my school, I participate in chamber choir. I'm a member of my drama club. I attend almost every single orchestra, band, choir, concert, and performance. It's such a huge part of my high school experience. And speaking for myself, it has made such a huge impact on not only my day-to-day school life, but on my grades and my academics as well. Singing and the arts really allow me a creative release that I don't necessarily receive in the rest of my academic classes. I actually start my day with choir. It's my first period class, and it's such an amazing way to welcome my day at school and to just start off with on a really happy and positive note, especially with all of my other friends. And I think anyone who can or has the opportunity to should definitely utilize those classes at their school. There's always beginner courses for choir, orchestra, art, photography, all of those different classes. If you can take those at your school, it's going to benefit you so much, especially in your academics.
How can people follow you throughout your year of service?
Where I'm most active is on my Instagram page, which is MAOTeen. And you can find that if you look that up on Instagram. My personal is PAYTON.MAY. But if you want to keep up on all things Miss America's Outstanding Teen, definitely go follow the MAOTeen page. And then on Facebook as well as Miss America's Outstanding Teen.
Do you have any shout-outs, or is there anybody you would like to recognize?
Yes, obviously. The first people I obviously want to thank are my parents. I talk about them all the time. They're basically my best friends. I do have siblings, but for the most part, I've kind of grown up an only child, and so I truly, give it all to my parents for raising me to be the person that I am today, and they're so incredibly supportive of everything I do. I truly don't think that I could have become Miss America's Outstanding Teen without their help and everything that they've sacrificed for me to get here. And then, of course, my state director, Lana, who's just been so instrumental in helping me prepare for nationals. And then my very first vocal director, Sherry Backus, I'm still in contact with her all the time. She runs the Miss Clark County program, which is a truly remarkable program in our state. And she's pretty much taught me everything I know about pageants and the Miss America organization, so I'm super thankful for her as well.
I'm sure that they will appreciate it. And today's very special pageantry guest has been Miss America's Outstanding Teen 2020, Payton May. Payton, it has been a pleasure meeting you, getting to speak with you, getting to learn a little bit more about you, and I look forward to watching you throughout your year of service. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was so sweet.